I would chalk this up, Alice, this weekend as a net positive. Net positive.
Fair.
Wouldn't you? Like last weekend, I think we kind of screwed the weekend away. Saturday was a total wash. We didn't do anything things we were supposed to. We had great intentions in the morning. A friend of ours invited us over to hang out with them, and I said, no, we're being good today. We're doing this and that and this and that and this and that. Didn't happen. Saturday was a wash last weekend. We went out to eat and then went out just to.
We are not people who are capable of going out to eat before we get stuff done for the day.
Right, exactly.
We need to get our stuff all done that we need to do for the day, and then we can allow ourselves fun time.
Or go out to do anything is really
right.
Doesn't matter where.
We can't. We have to do the chores first,
right,
and then the other stuff because the chores never happen.
But this weekend, I would say, was a net positive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. Now, and one of the reasons why, we'll get to the reasons why, but I'm going to start with something first that's going to make you guys who are on my age say, holy shit, I can't believe it. I was just listening to the Fox News Sunday broadcast with Shannon Bream.
Okay.
Who we love, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to them all. I listened to Chuck Todd, that one, and the Stephanopoulos one this weekend. So she had the governor of Colorado on, and he was talking about all sorts of political stuff. But he also had mentioned that he had written an op-ed, saying that he was optimistic that they would make progress in the JonBenet Ramsey case.
Really?
Yeah. He said because of he might have been part of the DA team.
What do you think about the JonBenet Ramsey case?
I
don't know if we've ever covered this.
I don't know if we have, but it's really kind of besides the point.
Privately in our relationship.
But I've been talking about, I was aware of this. we flew for my friend Dana's wedding into Colorado in 96 or 97, whenever they got, maybe I guess it was 97 or 98, whenever they got married or whatever. And it was kind of on the heels of that happening. And at that point, they were all about the woman I knew in Colorado was saying, oh, yeah, we were all young then, saying, oh, yeah, definitely the parents killed her. Everybody knows the parents killed her. So that's fine, whatever. But it occurs to me, Alice, and guys, you are going to say, holy, if you're my age, I just for a second thought, wow, that was a long time ago. That was really a long time ago. That wedding was 25 years ago, whatever. It was a good time. But then I thought for myself, wait a second. If that was 30 something years ago, and JonBenet was 6 at that time, how much?
She's older than me.
No. She would have been. You are only 3 years older than JonBenet Ramsey.
Right.
That is incredible. Should I be in the back of a squad car? No, I don't know.
No,
Should I be incarcerated?
So. I don't think so. Wait, exactly what year was she born?
She was born in 3 years after 1990.
Oh, okay, yeah. So.
Can you effing believe that?
Yeah.
That is, Alice, don't you have to say things? The guys and women, anybody over 45 will hear this and say, holy hell, that's remarkable.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what happens when people die is they're forever that age, right?
Are you missing the point here, Alice?
That you're old? Is that the point?
Yes, and you're very young.
I'm not that young.
I'm
not JonBenet Ramsey. It was a long time ago.
Yes, you are. You are JonBenet Ramsey.
No, I'm not.
Although we didn't, to my credit, we weren't dating when you were 6. We waited decades later.
Obviously, we weren't dating when I was 6.
It just blew me away. I can't believe it. 3 years older. Oh my God, that's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh God, you effed up. But I won, so that's all that matters. Okay, so
that's funny that you say that, because can I bring up something else that I saw on Twitter today that just it was just an interesting thing that I happened across that somebody tweeted that I thought was the saddest thing that I've seen anybody tweet ever, right? So this guy basically tweeted, sorry, I'm trying to get back to where I was when I did this, saying that men are all having regrets and not living their best life, and that he's regretting the guy he dated before you. right? So this
Wait,
guy
who's
on this random person on Twitter tweeted this, but
Okay.
it got a lot of retweets, right? Lots of men live in regrets, but they won't say it. Deep down, they know they'll be happier being with the woman they met sometime in their lives. But you're in the picture now, and they just have to deal and live with you while craving for the woman they know they can't win back.
Okay.
I thought that was like an incredibly sad thing to say. Like, do you think that that's true? Do you think guys are all just walking around out there, like, pining after the one that got away, even after they're married and have kids? And, like, I mean,
Not pining publicly.
But I think just be present in the moment. Like, you can be happy with your life that you have, right?
I mean, first of all, I don't know. Once you are married and have kids, I don't know where you have the time, the pining time to do
Exactly.
it. You're in the middle of a tsunami at that point. There's no time. I think you can think back as guys and
So do you regret, because I feel like, so you have one girlfriend in particular, I think, that was like the girl that you pined after in high school and then kind of made an attempt at it as adults and it didn't work, right? But that was like the fate meant to be one, kind of. Maybe. Where
it certainly told it was perfect lifetime movie because we were high
you
school.
loved
I
her in
pined
high
her.
school.
Yeah, exactly.
And then got to make a go at it in not in college, but as adults.
As 30-year-olds, you're right.
You got to convince her that
we ran into each other, and it was a whirlwind for a little bit of time. Exactly.
Right. So like, and that's the stuff, like you say, that the movies are made of, where it all comes together and it's like the happy ending. So do you ever like think about that? Like that you know, that could have been your life, or pine after that life, wishing that could have been your story and your...
No, I mean, it made for a good story while it made for a good story. But most of the ship was sinking. You know, after about 5 months, the ship was more sinking, and I did 3 years of damage control. But no, it made for a good story, or a nice and symmetrical story. But no, we would have been divorced. Essentially, we were divorced. I mean, we never got engaged or married, but pretty damn close. But no,
I think that's like a lot of what people, when people are pining after something, a lot of what they're pining after is a story that they had in their head, not like the actual person, or they probably would be with that person, that a lot of times, like, I don't think it's actually true for the most part that there's like that one true love of your life that got away, and that you're missing out on something by not being with them. And I think that view of your life, that sort of narratively focused view where you have this story in your head, and to the extent that your life doesn't live up to the story in your head, you're like disappointed and having regrets and pining after something. Like, I think that is a distraction from your reality and from like the people that you're around that you love right now. And I think that's like, it's like almost toxic and damaging. That's why I say it was like such a sad thing to tweet to me, because it's like this person's saying they're in a relationship now, right? And that they miss some ex, or like have fantasies about some ex. And like, it just strikes me as weird, like a toxic way to think about your life.
Yeah, especially if you have somebody in particular in mind. Definitely. No, the only time there was like right after I got on Facebook, like in 2009 or whatever, I wasn't dating any. After that person and I split up, I was like in my mid 30s or whatever, and I was like, and I thought, like, what am I doing? Like, I had gotten into radio by then, so that was good. But then I was like, I talked on Facebook to the women I used to know in the 90s, and I was like, I missed those. I wish it was those times. I wish we were there. It was just nothing. Nothing was new, and I was older, and I had nothing, and I wasn't in love, and I didn't have a girlfriend, etc. And I did pine for a time, but not for a person in particular whatsoever. But that was it. There was a time in those late time, when I would think about, like, I wasn't suicidal, but I thought about like, am I done here? Like, should I just do?
The way you say that is so weird.
No, because I thought like, here I am, I'm 36 or whatever. I'm not married. I wasn't. I was dating. I was here. I had a spade of luck here or there, whatever. As a guy. But I thought I just things just hadn't worked out as I meant. So I would just think about sometimes okay, I'll get up and go to work and that. I wasn't depressed though. I was just looking at my score sheet and saying, my dad was gone by that time. My mother was really sick and it didn't look like I was going to have a family to do this and that. And even though I wasn't it wasn't horribly lonely. I had people to hang out with romantically here and there, but I thought all the great stuff I'm not going to have. So I thought would this be the time to kill yourself? Would this be but once again, I wasn't really suicidal. I wasn't deeply unhappy.
Takes a little more than that.
I wasn't bipolar or whatever, but it would enter my mind, just as an element, because I was there and alone. Maybe I was just trying to amuse myself or humor myself. But no, I never took time. I'm not going to ask you the same question about pining for exes because I assume yes. I hope yes for you.
No, I love my life now, and that's part of why I think it's so sad because I make a conscious and deliberate effort to live in the present moment and in my life, and I think thinking about and pining after exes or fantasizing about other people is really toxic to relationships.
Oh, yeah. I think that's sad and horrific. I mean, I'm sure that you've been. I know that you have been, and we've both been in relationships where I was in a relationship in my early 20s where it was meant to be organically very romantic story. She was kind of like you in a way, in the sense she's very well educated, well read, etc. She was a wacko liberal, though, crazy progressive. And we organically kind of fell for each other. And, what started with animus became just, etc. And it was, on course. It's so interesting. And, I think about her now sometimes. Because we were on course. She knew my parents. Everything. She fit like a glove into my life. She knew my story, knew my history, whatever. Had faith in me, etc. Thought I was funny. She was... So, although I wasn't doing anything professionally worth mentioning. But... And it's funny because it just got derailed. One year she had, the third year into it, she had had enough of me, and I had gained a few pounds, and I was just not, doing anything, pursuing anything career-wise that was going to better me, whatever. And she wanted to take some time off. And this is right in the middle of our relationship. So she wanted to take some time off. And we knew we were going to get married. And we took some time off. And during that time off, I got my bleep together a little bit. By the way, let the record show that her taking some time off was done under the guise of wanting to take me to lunch. Let's go to lunch, Tom. So we sat in the park bench in the Boston Public Gardens.
And she said she wanted to take time
And
off.
She dumped me instead of lunch. I was like, this is not lunch. There's nothing about this. And after she was done, she asked if I still wanted to have lunch. I was like, I'm thinking good. Thank you.
That reminds me. Do you know the couple that we know that broke up, but they had already had a vacation booked together, and they went on the vacation together?
No.
Anyway, after they broke up?
No.
And they were posting about their trip and hashtag breakcation, and it was horribly awkward and painful for everybody who observed everything about it.
No. But that's terrible, actually. That's terrible. Who are they? Are they from here or from Melrose?
No, it's a person that you mostly hate follow.
Oh, okay. I think I know it. Oh, yes, that was pathetic.
You don't remember that. Okay.
But anyway, for this person in my early 20s that my parents all thought was all set. This was the person, etc.
Mm-hmm.
She took this break, and I took a break. And during the break, I flourished.
Yeah.
I mean, I met all sorts of people. I met other women. I had fun. I did whatever. And then she came back and said, okay, Tom, I'm really happy with what you've done with yourself. Let's give it another shot. And it just was not there anymore.
You were like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was weird because had she not done that, then we would have been together and done the thing. And she was destroyed emotionally. Destroyed. She was crying to my brother. She was absolutely devastated. I think that she's still not married. She'd be now in her early 40s, mid 40s. I think seriously, Alice, that I destroyed her soul. I'm serious.
But that's
but I didn't do anything.
But that's the thing, is that you can't I just honestly feel that relationships are binary. You're either in them or you're not. And there's no taking a break. I'm not sure. I'm also 30% thinking about this other person. There's no I don't think you can have a relationship that works like that. Mm-hmm. Where there's that stuff in the way. I think you have to be all in and 100% committed to it, or it just doesn't work. Because once you allow that mental space for what ifs, right? Then you're already breaking the relationship in your head.
Right.
And relationships are something that's in your head. You know what I mean? There's something that exists in your head. They're a mental agreement that we make to be together with a person in a way that can easily be broken by a mental hang-up.
Right. And also if the idea of taking a break, I'm going to see what's better out there. But no offense. It's okay.
Yeah.
No offense. I guess you looked for what was better out there, didn't find it. I looked for what was better out there, found lots of it, and now you want me back. No offense. Yeah, sorry about that.
But that's even the case, so, and I will fully admit that I have not always been a good person in relationships. I've been a terrible person in relationships.
I can attest to that.
A lot of times. And I had boyfriends that I cheated on or whatever, and it always it wasn't you could go back. Nobody could get forgiven. Because it was always then you're once you cheat, it's you've already said, I don't give a bleep about this relationship. And now you're asking me to grovel and come back to this relationship and win back your approval to be in this relationship that obviously I didn't really want to be in the first place, right, or would not have cheated. It's just, I don't know. Relationships are one of those things that I think are much easier broken than unbroken. And I think that they can be broken by even seemingly small mental things.
Oh, totally.
Pining after an ex or whatever.
Totally.
I just think, and it's weird because, I think that there's something that it's you can't, a relationship is a very real thing, mm-hmm, right? That thing that you have with another person when you're with them romantically, and in particular obviously in a marriage or when you have kids, it's even more so. But it's this living, breathing thing with a soul that's a part of who you are, right? And you can't, it's once you wreck it, it goes away.
Right.
And it's not back. You can't unwreck it.
Right. Completely agree. But we are having a wonderful time. I think our relationship now is better than ever. And we had a nice dinner tonight at Locals. Where was it? In Rye in Southport?
It was in Hampton, Northampton.
It was fantastic. Great place.
What a great bar, yeah.
So fun.
The Celtics game was on. I think it is just about time for me to start getting into the Celtics.
But this is one of those. So we had dinner tonight after we went to
Odeorn
Point Park, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. Which is great. Saw a gun battery seamen, as in men who work in the city.
No.
Okay. Gun battery from World War II there. It was awesome. My kind of place. We had a great hike. So today was a good day. After yesterday, which of course was a great day. Mm-hmm. Yesterday we decided to focus in on landscaping because we live in we didn't know, but a satellite territory of the Amazon where everything grows here crazily.
It's true. I think it's because we're close to the river, the Merrimack River. Yeah. It's everything is just, there's these mega flora that go nuts.
I found myself caught flat-footed again because I needed to get a my ride-on lawnmower, the Husqvarna, didn't start again. The battery was dead, and so we jumped it with the car, and it started with the car, but it wouldn't start on its own. So battery wasn't working. Alice suggested that I just get a new battery. You said they were cheap, so I said, "All right, I'll try to get a new battery." The bridge is out up here. If you live up here, you know what that means. So I went to Plastow, New Hampshire, and to the Walmart, because it was a Walmart brand battery. Went to the battery area, no batteries. I then, because the bridge is out, drove the long way to Salisbury, New Hampshire. It's New Hampshire.
Seabrook, New Hampshire.
Seabrook, New Hampshire.
You went to next.
To another Walmart. This is where I was flat-footed. I'm looking at the row that says lawn care batteries, where my battery would be. No batteries there. I'm looking there. Meanwhile, I look over, and this place has its own auto center. That's where the batteries are. There's a guy at the helm standing there.
An expert.
And I'm like, oh, here we go. He's not saying anything. He's waiting for me to approach him. He's not saying anything. This is right up Hillary Chablis. And I used to talk about
Hillary Chabot.
Chabot.
What is wrong with you?
I used to call her Chablis. And then her name is Chabot. So then I called her Chablot, which is probably not what she wants to be called. But Hillary Chabot. We used to talk about this because this used to happen to me earlier. So now I'm looking at the battery section. I know there's no batteries that I have. And I see the guy. And I know he sees me looking. He's not engaging me. So I've got to go.
Waiting.
I've got to go,
Ask him.
prostrate myself in front of him. I said, "Oh, are you all out? Is that it for lawnmower batteries, like that section there?" To which he says, "Well, it's lawnmower season." I said, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, I know. I guess I'm late. But is he says, well, there's a big demand for lawnmower batteries in lawnmower season." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Okay, I guess, do you know when you might?" He said, "Well, I might have them in 2 days. I might have them in 3. And then he stops himself and says, "There's a supply chain problem." So now I'm getting a effing beatdown from this dude who just could have told me that we're out of the batteries. No. He's got to make a thing out of it. I've got to get a moral lecture from a guy because I didn't put the time in, the consideration to know that you don't wait till lawnmower season to get a lawnmower battery.
You buy a lawnmower battery in the wintertime.
You get it earlier than lawnmower season. So I have to be beat on verbally for this. So yes, he let me know. I didn't know that before, that you don't wait till lawnmower season to ask for a lawnmower battery. And he may have...
Do you want to let people know the original of this guy that
I
in
will.
the Home Depot?
And he's telling me, so he'll have them, and he says, I might get them, this is Walmart, he says, I might have them in 2 days, might have them in 3 weeks, because of the supply chain thing. So I've effed up all the research I was supposed to have done before I walked in there. So I have done him a disservice and disgraced myself and Walmart. So I go to another Walmart in New Hampshire, and I get essentially the same thing. And I'm looking at the Walmart, and I'm looking at the guy, and he's looking at me, and he's like, come on, ask me. Ask me if I have more in the back. Ask me if I have more. And I'm like, no effing way. I just got out of there.
Even if they have more in the back, it's not worth it because he's not going to go get them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I could see if there's something in the back. If you want me, if you got a couple of minutes, I could look. I mean, don't put yourself out. Or they'll call in reinforcements. Like, hey, Tim, can you go?
They're going to have somebody get a forklift.
Yeah, I know Tim. I know it's lawnmower season. He doesn't. He didn't know. He didn't think it through. I told him
back in 2020 when I had to go get chicken wire.
So anyway, I went to the Epping, New Hampshire Walmart, and they are lousy with lawnmower batteries. No problem. I didn't make contact with anybody. I just did it.
They didn't warn you that it was lawnmower season?
But this Alice brings it up because this is what I used to bring up with Hillary Chabot. Is that like 10 years ago when we were living in Melrose, there was everything flooded. Your house probably did too, if you're listening, if you lived up in Massachusetts. Everything flooded. Suddenly there were floods everywhere. And so our basement flooded. Our basement, which never flooded. And so I'm looking for a water pump for the basement. And I go into, this is not, the Lowe's guy is like, we're all, I go into the Home Depot pump aisle, and there's a guy standing there in the pump section like stocking shelves. I'm looking at the water pump section. All the things are labeled like water pump, this water pump, this water pump, but the shelves are empty where I'm looking. And I'm looking around, and I'm looking up and seeing if it's on that like 4th story rack up there or wherever it is. And the guy doesn't even make eye contact with me, the associate at the Home Depot. And he says, Hope you're not looking for water pumps. I already had, make sure, so I could eat in front of him, essentially. Hope you're not looking for water pumps. Well, as a matter of fact, I was looking for a water pump.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, I'm
just
out of
half
water.
of Massachusetts is looking for a water pump.
He's like,
right now.
You're getting yours now? Right now, we've had 3, 4, 5 days of rain here in a row, and you're looking for water pump. I'm out of water pumps. I can't tell you. I might try the Derby, Wisconsin store. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But it was the whole, hope you're not looking for water pumps. That moment where he got to own me, like stick the knife in a little bit more. Yes, I was looking for water pumps. I'm sorry, Mr. Home Depot associate who gets to, lord your power over me this one time when a poor fool is looking for water pumps, not knowing what the etiquette is, Jesus. Which reminds me,
the good news is we got a battery and you were scared to hook it up because you were afraid you'd be electrocuted.
Which I want to bring up. The last thing is that the king of that attitude is I was not scared, Alice. Well, I didn't want to die, so that's the difference. So here's the thing: is that me and my friend John, when we were both like 18 years old, we lived together in a place in Salem, Massachusetts, and his mother had given him I think it was a gold chain. And we had no money at all. And so me and John went to a jewelry shop to pawn his chain for money. And his mother had given him this gold chain. His mother was very sick at the time, who died shortly after. We gave him a gold chain, which meant a lot to John, obviously. But so now we're going to pawn it. So me and John go to the pawn shop. And John's like, oh, yeah, I want to pawn my gold chain. And the guy's like, takes his thing and says, yeah, I'm not sure that's gold. And John's like, yeah, I know, it is gold. It is gold. My mother got it from me. It is gold. She got it from her jewelry place. He says, yeah, I'm not sure that's... So then he goes and grabs this little eye drop thing with special how to tell if it's gold or not acid in it. And so if it's not gold, it acids away the jewelry.
The not gold.
Right. So he then grabs his own gold watch or whatever, and he says, so this will tell you if it's gold or not. And he's got his acid there. He says, okay, does the eye drop thing on his gold watch? He goes, mine? And does the eye drop thing on it, and it's fine. Then he does the eye drop thing on John's chain, and it sizzles it to death. And he goes, yours. Bye-bye, yours. Bye-bye, yours, he said, as he tossed back the remnants of what he thought was a gold chain. Mine? Yours. Bye-bye, yours. Bye-bye, yours was the biggest single defining moment of maybe John's life, maybe my life, too. So let's start the show, Alice, shall we?
Sorry, everybody. I apologize.
So I haven't found out anything too much about the shooting in Laguna Woods in California, but there was a shooting in Laguna Woods, California. Obviously, there was a shooting in Buffalo, New York.
Yes.
Yes, which listening to the Sunday shows is a toxic stew, I believe it was.
Toxic stew.
Toxic stew.
Well, and it's crazy because it's this is the trifecta for liberals, right? They have racism, they have guns, and they have online misinformation. So they have all the things. They can go after racism and Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump on that front. They can go after social media and misinformation and Twitch that allowed the gunman to stream on that front. And they can go after the guns on that front because the shooter, conveniently for them in his manifesto, spent 12 pages of his manifesto talking about the particular weapons he used and how easy it was for him to get them as an 18-year-old. So, this is they're just everything that they didn't get when there was the shooter in DC that didn't turn out to be a white guy, or the parade guy who ran over a bunch of people, or the shooter in the Bronx subway.
Right.
Everything they didn't get, they finally have it. So now they're saying obviously they're like, why does it always turn out to be this white supremacist white guy who just goes out? Like, it doesn't always turn out to be that. It turns out to be a lot of different things. It's like a lot of different things, a lot of different times, a lot of crazy people with a lot of crazy ideologies try and kill people. It happens quite a bit from a number of ideologies, but, you know, it always seems to happen this way to them because these are the only ones that they focus on. Like, they've already memory hold the DC shooter who wasn't a white guy, or the Bronx subway shooter who wasn't a white guy, or the Waukesha parade guy who wasn't a white guy and hated white people specifically. Like, that's all gone now for them. So as far as they're concerned, it's always a white supremacist because all the other ones have been erased for them.
Right. And so it took very little time for them to make the connections they needed to. And this guy was, Reverend Al made the connection that everybody wanted him to, that this guy would have been 15 years old when Donald Trump said there are very fine people on both sides. So that's what...
Of a statues debate?
Alice, that's the Reverend Al, I don't question, I don't split hairs. They said, so that's why this guy got mobilized to do it, because Trump made it okay in 2018 to murder everybody in the name of racism. So that's what we're going with. And it's a completely gross, disgusting, and odd leftist turn. The idea, I guess this guy, according to his... First of all, he's a psychotic. Second of all, he wrote racist stuff. He said he had problems with Fox News people, with Jewish people. He had all sorts of... He's a mess. He's a self-indulgent psychotic who wanted you to find him interesting. And he shot 11 people. 2 of whom were white.
He shot 13
people. Okay.
13 people.
2 of whom were
10
white.
died, yeah.
Right. The rest were black, and that's obviously tragic, horrible, and awful. And the guy's a POS.
Yeah, and he was definitely targeting black people. I don't think there's any question about that. But yeah,
but he also did kill 2 white people, or at least 1.5. One's dead and one's not yet.
Right, but I don't.
The guy's a POS. Given, we got it.
So there's he's a terrible person. I'm fine. Whatever charges they want to press. String him up, go for it. Like, I'm fine. Seek the death penalty. I have no problem. Like, he's a garbage person. Anyone who goes into a supermarket and shoots a bunch of people who are just like trying to buy cupcakes for a birthday party, or the retired cop who's the security guard at the supermarket, who by all accounts was a great guy. Like, you're a trash person if you kill people like that and stream it on the internet to watch. And like you said, you're a psycho. Like, I don't care if there's a technical mental diagnosis or not or whatever, but like, I mean, I want to make a point, I guess, that the people like this who do things like this they're not unique to a particular ideology, and that there are people who seek out ideologies and choose them to do stuff like this, but would do it for any ideology, right? So this guy, apparently, when he was a younger teenager, like 16, 17, was a socialist and was really into that. And then he got really into, like, the white identity stuff. And, like, he doesn't like Fox News. He had a big problem with Fox News in his manifesto because he says they're, like, run by Jews or have too many Jews on or something. Like, I mean... Whatever it is, he wasn't radicalized by Tucker Carlson, seemingly, because he's not really a Fox News guy, but they're still going to run with that to say that, like, Tucker Carlson's responsible, I guess. But it's just interesting to me because I think that a lot of times there are people out there that are radical. There's this guy, David Hines, who sometimes writes for, like, the American Conservative, I think he writes for sometimes. He's written some stuff online that I like about, in particular, like, radicalism, and especially leftist radicals, like the Weather Underground and stuff, and how radicalism works. And one of his, like, big sayings is that radicalism is fungible, meaning it can just change from one radical ideology to another, right? That, like, somebody starts out a radical socialist and they morph into a radical, whatever this guy was, white identity, environmentalist, socialist thing. Like, and he said in his manifesto, he said, like, he set it up like an FAQ, like, are you right wing? Yeah, I guess you could say that. Are you left wing? Yeah, I guess you could say that. Like, he's answered both yes. Like, I mean, the people that do stuff like this aren't motivated by the ideology to do stuff. They seek out an ideology that justifies for them this stuff that they want to do. You know what I mean? So he set out to be a radical, and he found a cause to suit him.
Right, but also classic sociopath just wants to be found interesting.
Right.
So I'm a little bit, I'm interesting.
I also find the, big thing about the great replacement theory whole thing interesting because, like we've talked about on this show before, replacement theory, so-called, is something that was touted by the left for decades. Decades. This is something I was taught in school. I still remember, my 7th grade social studies teacher saying this, basically, who was a big liberal, saying, well, there's going to be permanent majorities,
right?
Permanent Democratic majorities in the U.S. because we're going to become a majority-minority country. In whatever number of years, white people are dying off. They're not reproducing at replacement rates. There's a bunch of immigrants, people of color who are reproducing at higher rates, and we're going to become a majority-minority country, and Republicans are never going to be elected again.
Right.
And this was a liberal saying this stuff. That's exactly the talking points that this shooter used, and the El Paso shooter used, and all these people use, these trash people that are into identity politics, whether it's white identity politics or whatever other identity politics, right? That the left put out here this idea that demographics was destiny. That's their words. That's the words that I remember being used by liberals when I was in high school. Demographics are destiny, saying that there were just going to be so many brown people that Republicans would never win elections again after a certain year, right? This was an idea that was pushed on the left forever. And only when people on the right started pointing to it did it become this weird racist issue. And it's just crazy because they're the freaking racists. They're the people who thought that they would have quote people of color or whatever voting for them forever.
Right, but it worked closely and conveniently alongside of their encapsulation of the Trump support as people a little nervous about things changing in their towns.
You're just scared.
The corner convenience store. Brown. Yeah, corner convenience store was somebody who doesn't look like you anymore, and that was their empathetic way of describing the Trump supporters who didn't know any better. They're just scared because
which is nuts
races.
Because Trump people literally are some of the least racist. Don't care about race people in America.
Of course, they don't have the time to sit in Brooklyn lofts talking about race. I'm freaking busy. Working, getting after it, to trying to make a living, trying to deal with their kid who's got an opioid addiction. It's no, you know what? They're thinking they're very angry. That's why they're in the boats, the fleets of Trump boats together, because they're afraid that their neighborhoods look a little bit different. It's dude, that's on you. If you're the race person around here. It's
yeah, because they've been sitting around saying we need to make people's neighborhoods look different in order to get Democrats elected. That's
but now
and they say that for freaking 20 years, and then all of a sudden they have upset some wackos who apparently don't want their neighborhoods to look different or whatever, and it's they're saying Republicans are saying the neighborhoods look different. No, you guys wrought this. This is your problem.
Right.
You made up the great replacement thing. This is all something you guys invented. So stop.
And they're also dealing now with a break in the dike because now with Hispanic support for Trump increasing, now it's, oh, wait, they're getting misinformation. Hispanics are getting misinformation.
Yeah.
That's the new rallying cry. There's misinformation going on in Hispanic communities and Latinx communities. Make sure we do something to divert it. There's a problem. So there's a problem with the brown people that they wanted to make sure were just nice, compliant, good Democrats. Now they've got a problem
were going to be
because
Democrats
they're free
forever.
thinking. Wow. I never feel good, by the way, about, or safe, about using the word that has to do with the retaining wall at reservoirs. I just don't. And I hear people say it, and I always think that was a near miss, sir. Especially if it has to do with... Okay, I just don't feel good. So there you go. Take it away, Alice.
It is interesting, though, because I do feel that the Democrats have, lost control of the narrative a bit, especially because The Biden administration has just been so terrible. One of the Sunday shows we were listening to, I think it was ABC, the like George Stephanopoulos one. They were citing a new poll that they had out that has Biden's approval in the 30s, and that's according to them. And this is like Democratic polling agencies. So it's not good. The inflation is terrible. People are really feeling it. And it's, this is real stuff. You can't fake the inflation stuff to people, right? Like you can't spin it.
No, yeah, and
if people can't buy groceries, if you can't buy formula for the babies, like whatever it is, like, that's sort of an undeniable problem.
Oh, totally. And I want to just go back to my own market basket, and that's our big grocery store here. At my own market basket, I go there just about every day, if not every other day. Experiences. It's almost like a game of Tetris, the way the pasta aisle is being blocked. By sometimes an entire brand is missing. Sometimes there's only spaghetti from this brand, and they spread it out and block it in a thin way to make it look like there's plenty. There's not. Sometimes entire stuff is just gone. Look, for instance, there was no brand name fettuccine, just gone this week. So there's brand name, normal spaghetti. Which who would choose that ever as your shape of spaghetti? But it's always changing and it's always drifting, and like I'm especially, I pay astute attention to this stuff. I have to
the pasta aisle.
Well, I do. Well, all right, but especially since if you're somebody who enjoys white clam sauce on pasta, you're used to getting screwed because you know that the kid doesn't give a crap, and he'll put the Manhattan clam sauce, the red clam sauce,
behind.
He'll block those to the front, and the white stuff's in the back. Just a kid who's 18. I'm not singling out market basket because they do a great job, but I always find the stuff I'm looking for about 6 feet behind there, but my arms can reach.
Yeah, I have trouble because the clam sauce is always on the high shelves. If you send me for clam sauce, I can only go so many layers back. I can't get at it.
Oh, that's one of the good things about the last Walmart I went to. I walked out of there with a battery and a $4 can of Progresso clam sauce.
Yeah,
so
they do have the Progresso,
yes.
not the Cento
when they do.
or the what's the other yellow
Cento
one?
is my favorite always Rienzi. A Progresso. It's a Pastine.
Pastine, right.
Right. Okay, Alice. So it's. I mean, we've got emails to read, and we've got the
voicemails. None from Justin though.
Yeah, that's a problem. You see,
Justin, you can call back in.
No, you've given them a scarlet letter now.
I have?
Yes.
I didn't give Justin
scarlet letter.
Tom's Bike is my favorite caller.
And my kid's favorite caller. Now Tom's Bike is gone. Apologize to Justin. All right. Let's go to the...
We just wanted more people to call in. That's all.
Well, hope you're happy.
I didn't do
Here we go. To the chat. We go.
Hey, Tom and Alice. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. However, I do find it interesting that the biggest baby formula shortage in world history is coinciding with the potential overturning of Roe versus Wade. Is there a correlation there? It's like, well, if you don't have the babies, you don't have to feed them.
Ooh, thoughts, Alice?
Good point. That's Danny and Bellrica, right?
Would you like to address the message?
I'm just checking. Yes, I agree. I don't think it's a coincidence. It happens on Mother's Day. I don't think it's a coincidence that the connection of femininity and being a woman to abortion rather than motherhood is a coincidence. I don't think that it's a coincidence that they can do this and then a bunch of leftist activists on Twitter can go, see, this is why we need the right to abortion. People can't even buy formula. Like, that makes sense. I mean, they want you to kill your kids and they want you to define womanhood by that and not by motherhood, which is obviously what is the defining characteristic of womanhood, is at least your body being organized around the potentiality of creating other human lives.
It is funny because I have noticed a bunch of men, including callers on my radio station, saying, hello, ladies, you can step up and produce breast milk yourself. I'm like, man, you ain't married if you're saying stuff like that. Let me tell you something.
Oh my goodness. What a terrible thing to say.
Oh.
Like, hey, I'm one of the biggest breast milk partisans out there. You can vouch for this. I'm a big breastfeeding. I think breastfeeding's awesome. I think it's great. I did it publicly all over the place.
Yes.
I was rabid about it. I think breastfeeding is awesome. And I think that everybody who can should do it as much as humanly possible. That being said, a lot of people are in a scenario where they have to go to work for a lot of hours, which makes it tough.
A
lot of people have a lot of medical reasons why they can't. There's a lot of reasons. And the industry around selling breast milk or donating, you can't sell breast milk, first of all. That's not allowed. You can't breastfeed other people's children. That's not allowed. Wet nursing isn't allowed. I see a lot of people going, what do people do before formula them? Well, they had wet nurses, first of all. And secondly, a lot more kids used to die than die now. Sorry, kids that couldn't figure out how to eat used to just die. We didn't have specialized formulas for them. No, but that was a real there's a reason why infant mortality has dropped in the last century. Anyway, don't get me started.
Hello, Tom and Alice. John in Wakefield here.
Hi, John.
Not the mole in Wakefield, just proximate, apparently. Mole adjacent, as it were. Anyway, Tom, I miss your comments on Les Barus. Also, requesting addition of Burn Barrel Brigadier stickers in the merch store.
Oh, that's a good idea. Alice. That's a good idea.
Or we should just get some and send them to our Burn Barrel Brigadiers.
Springfield this weekend. If so, let us know your Friday and Saturday coordinates, and also don't forget to tell us who to vote for. Thank you.
I'm going to be there, Tom. I don't think going to be there.
We're discussing it. I may
We're
be there.
discussing who's going to be there or not, but I'm going to be there for sure. I'm going to be at the...
That's the Massachusetts State Republican Convention, if you guys don't know.
Yes.
Who are you voting for, Alice? I don't even know who's running.
Jeff Deal. I don't know what other options there are for other races.
I like Jeff. He's a great guy.
I'm in the Jeff Deal camp, ultimately, for governor. I don't know what chance any Republican has this year against Healy.
Yeah.
It's a different world than the world where we got Charlie Baker. It really is.
Yeah.
And I don't know how possible anything is. I'm for it. Whatever is possible, and I'm ultimately a Deal person. I'm going to be at Deal's party at the Basketball Hall of Fame on Friday night.
Very nice.
Like I said, just about time for me to get into basketball. They've made the conference finals, I think, the Celtics. So my bandwagon fandom is just about ready to begin. So I'm going to visit the Basketball Hall of Fame with Jeff Deal Friday. I'll be at the convention Saturday. And then I'll probably head home at some point after that. I don't know what my plans are then.
Hey, Tom and Alice, just catching up on the week's podcast, and was really kind of taken aback, Tom, at how condescending and dismissive you were towards Alice when she was talking about the Kathy Barnett story.
Thank you.
You probably want to be careful because she's a step-on wife, and you know what she could step on. But
man,
treat her a little bit nicer, Tom.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's a valid complaint. There are times when I just get purely bitchy in the podcast, especially that I think that was towards the end, probably.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up Kathy Barnett and talk more about something, and you were ready to be done.
Right. So usually when I'm rapping at the end, I'm out.
And you asked me if I have anything else I want to bring up. You don't really mean, Alice, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
Well, I mean, but sometimes you want to go in depth about somebody named Kathy Barnett at the end of the thing where there's not much left of me at that point. And so, yes, you are correct about that. I do get salty sometimes, especially if it's the very end and we're going on and on and on about that. Good catch.
Sorry, by the way, about Tom's sniffles. We all have this cold again.
Or
really
it's
bad.
like allergies. You guys, I'm sure some of you guys have them as well. It's like, holy God. That's correct. It was condescending. There is no doubt about that. Possibly patronizing. It depends upon. But it's real. I like to keep it real. Did you know that, Alice?
Also, I've been wondering how that egg of Cinnamon's tasted.
That is Cinnamon's egg, John.
Cinnamon's egg. Cinnamon's eggs taste great.
Oh, we should tell people there was a homicide.
Oh yes, not of Cinnamon.
No,
Cinnamon is still fine.
That head doesn't look like a chicken's head anymore.
She's still a little off. Yeah. I keep feeding her stuff. She is eating and drinking on her own, though, which is a big improvement because she was not eating and drinking on her own previously. We're keeping an eye on the situation and are going to supplement her diet if she continues to have issues. She's definitely still a little weak and screwed up. But one of the guinea fowl killed one of the other guinea fowl.
Yeah, so it was a prison yard shivving.
So I saw them fighting over in the woods earlier, but I didn't think much of it because it's their spring mating season. They're a little aggressive. Well, but then I called them to come in for the afternoon, and only 5 of the 6 newer guinea fowls showed up, and it was oh no, where's that one? So I went over that way, and yes, it had been murdered by the other guinea fowl.
Found dead in the woods.
Terrible.
My goodness.
So if we have an aggressive guinea fowl on our hands.
Hey guys, happy new week in Sunday here. Now, my question regards Saturday Night Live. Tom, we're the same age. We all agree it's garbage now.
Of course.
But what was the best time frame, the best era of SNL? And why was it the Phil Hartman years? That's all. Have a great week. Thanks.
I cannot disagree one iota. Correct, it was the Phil Hartman years. And those years especially that blended the old crew of Dana Carvey and sorry about that. Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon and Dennis Miller, who then blended in with the Mike Myers, and then the new crowd, Sandler and Spade, and etc. There was a few years where they were all together, right around 1991.
Chris Farley was on there too, right?
Yes, he was, Alice. That's right.
What years was that?
He would probably 90.
Was that the same years or different?
Farley was there. He and Spade came along around the same time, I think. Farley was he was good too. But when Farley hit his apex, I was kind of out. By the time 93 or 94 rolled around, I was just not available to watch TV on a Saturday night. I was striking out at bars in Boston. That's what was happening. But yeah, I mean, Phil Hartman. I mean, she's the old Phil Hartman, Phil Donahue skits were just Phil for 5 minutes. Come on, Mom, work with her, and he'd have his microphone. It was, Phil Hartman is an absolute American treasure, and it sucks that he was shot by his wife. By the way, Alice, I know it makes you excited to think about the possibilities, but yes, there you go. Yeah, so that's my time. Late 80s, early 90s. I respect some of the people who came subsequent. I thought the mid 80s were garbage. I think that was without what's his name, Lorne Michaels. And I think that Rosanna Danik crap, it doesn't work. I guess that's just the wrong time for me. I don't get it, or the Bumblebees, I think that the Conehead thing. I think that the entire crew should have been arrested for that. It's not funny. Subsequently, now it sucks. But the stuff I liked through the 90s, I always loved those guys. David Spade. And all those guys, by the way, are all conservatives. They really are. Because culture has moved so much. David Spade, Rob Schneider, all those guys. I would love to talk to them all. I love them. That's a great question. Great question. Alice, would you like to? Because I was called condescending, I want to make sure
I don't have anything to add. Go ahead, sweetie.
All right. Well, would you like to say anything about Kathy Barnett since we're wrapping up here?
You know what? Maybe I'll do it on the other side in the Patreon show.
Sounds like a good idea.
Thank you so much for listening.
We had emails to read.
Oh, right. Emails. Okay. Sorry.
Or should we boot those tomorrow?
No, let's do a couple emails now before we head to the Patreon show.
This is going to be one of those situations where, once again, this file is too big for me to save. It's going to take me 45 minutes. It's okay. It's just what it is, guys, is I have a MacBook Air from 2013, which makes it 9 years old, and it's just out of memory. And so Audition tries to find 18 ways to not be able to save files, and so part of my workflow here is finding a way around that. You have better things to do than care about that, though. Are you ready, Alice?
Yes, I'm ready. So Pete writes to us.
By the way, I want to say that we got an email from Kerry as well, which we won't talk about. But, Kerry, I will have you know that from my perch at the Parkview Apartments in Winchester, Massachusetts, I could see the vast horizon, and I was probably, you know where they are, is what I'm saying. I'm familiar with your area, Kerry. So there you go.
Okay, so let's see. Where was I? I was in Pete's email. Pete writes, "Hey guys, love the podcast. I've become an avid daily listener and devout shathead. Just ordered a zipped hoodie. Thanks so much
Good
for
man,
adding
Pete.
those.
Thank you.
I'm a nurse, and in light of your recent conversations about health, equity, preferential treatment in the form of CRT reparations, I'm surprised the Healing Arc program at BWH does not get more attention. Seems like a blatant violation of civil rights and medical ethics to me. There were some people protesting out in front of BWH not too long ago, but were quickly deemed racist groups."
I'm sorry, is BWH Brigham and Women's?
I think so.
Okay.
That's my understanding. But they were quickly deemed racist groups by the Globe, GBH, etc. Jim and Marjorie had on Art Kaplan, who amazingly is a medical ethicist,
Yes, it is. Okay.
that wrote a piece saying it was justified to refuse care to the unvaccinated. And of course, he was fine with it, stating something to the effect of, "White people have gotten plenty of good care. I'm not worried about white people."
Ah, that's
I
great.
tried to call in, but did not get through. However, I do harass him by email regularly. In a nutshell, they are attempting to right the wrongs of the past by implementing reparations in the form of admitting Black and Latinx, I can't believe I wrote an X, patient over white patients in the cardiac unit, since they theorize the opposite happened in the past due to institutional racism.
Well, as long as they theorize that.
Interestingly, they do not note that the white patients were better self-advocates, which may have contributed to the discrepancy. The whole mission statement justification by the Boston Review is astounding, but this is the money quote. "Offering preferential care based on race or ethnicity, may elicit legal challenges from our system of colorblind law, but given the ample current evidence that our health, judicial, and other systems already unfairly preference people who are white, we believe, following the ethical framework of Zach and others, that our approach is corrective and therefore mandated."
Holy hell.
In other words, we know
should have
it's
led with this,
illegal,
Alice,
but
instead
we're
of me
still
talking about
doing it
Walmart
anyway.
for 45 minutes.
We encourage other institutions to proceed confidently on behalf of
Let's-
equity and racial justice while backing provided by recent
Oh my
White House
God.
executive orders.
Can you send this to me? I want to read this on my. I'm going
Yes,
to talk
I
about
will
this on
send you
on
that
my
as
radio
well.
show tomorrow.
Thank you, Pete, for forwarding this.
Wow.
P.S. He writes, "We have 3 kids, chickens, ducks, rabbit, dog, fish, etc. Thus, we are also regular drinkers of stupidly expensive beer. Now, we all have COVID, too."
Sorry about that. Yeah. Hey, Pete, let us know the pluses and minuses of the ducks. Because we don't have a body of water here.
Yeah,
but
we don't have water. That,
we've
I
heard
think,
there's
is a
other ducks that
problem
don't
for
even
ducks.
need water that are awesome, though.
Forwarding that along to you. Okay. I also have an email from Matt who's writing about the shipping strike. And he says, "Do you know if the unions for dock workers are public sector or private? I only ask because if they are private, I'd be less concerned than if they were public, simply for the matter that they're at least bargaining against an employer, not a taxpayer. Just curious. Keep up the good work." And then...
Do we know?
I believe they're private sector
yeah.
unions. However, they are part of really the national transportation system that's so heavily regulated and that Biden and Pete Buttigieg have a lot of control over, that, you know, I do tend to think overall that the issue of the ports in particular is an issue that's very affected by our national policy. So when you're striking against running the ports efficiently,
Right.
you are striking against the national interest in a way that's similar to the way a public sector union would. You know, you're
Right.
not the hostess factory workers striking against making Twinkies for the day. You're the factory workers striking against, like, products going onto any store shelves all across America, kind
Right,
of.
gotcha.
So that's my view. Is I believe they are technically private, but I almost see it as a sort of semi, because it is such
Yeah.
a heavily
Well,
regulated
they
industry.
affect the infrastructure and the.
Yeah, it's related to infrastructure, so I do think that it's sort of a semi-public thing, but. Which was like that was the Reagan point about the striking against. That's what he did to the air traffic controllers, right? Is that,
Correct.
you know, it's like striking against the country. Like, you can't do that. But yeah, so I see your point, but I do think that even though I think they are technically private, I think it's sort of you know, semi-public at the same time. Tommy in New Hampshire writes, he has a suggestion for a possible work situation for me. He says, Alice founds a company called Alice Co. Sports. She hires Tom early on. They become the primary force behind the company. The business grows into a monster. Alice hires many 20-somethings for social blogging and podcasts. 3 of these people become entangled in relationships.
Ooh.
One of the 3 is a longtime employee. Let's give them fictional names. Rhea, Marty, and Hank, longtime employee. Rhea, Hank date for 4 years. They break up, and very soon after that, Rhea and Marty begin dating. Word gets out, causing a huge rift in the company, especially Tommy becomes very upset with Marty and Rhea. These people are at various stages of contract. Hank is basically untouchable because of the loyalty to his tenure. What does Alice, as founder and CEO, do in this situation?
Wow. Does this ring a bell? Is there a Rhea happening somewhere?
Is this a Barstool Sports thing, possibly?
Oh,
because it's an Alice Post
I
Sports.
See.
I
see.
I'm assuming this is a reference to something at Barstool.
It is a typical guy foul to. We used to call it coughing, which is no, it wasn't coughing. Coughing we used to call coveting of a failed investment. That was when one guy in the group, when we were single. This is 20 years ago. One guy in the group was hitting on a girl, and it wasn't working. And then another guy would swoop in and pick her up. It was kind of a backstabby thing. That was called a coffee that we had. I don't know. We definitely had a name for if you were dated somebody's ex. That was verboten. That is terrible. That is toxic. So yeah, they should savage him. So I would call for the. Yeah.
In general, I'm not a big fan of people at work dating as a boss.
I want to revamp what I'm saying. Rhea is the troublemaker in this. She knows that she's humiliating this other guy by now publicly in work sleeping with a new guy in work in front of everybody. She's the she-devil. She is a witch. She should be treated like the Salem witches. Correct. That is it. Can we go now?
Yes, let's head over to the Patreon show. I have more to talk about Jeff Bezos, they, them situations, other things. So we'll get to that in the Patreon show. You can play the music. Thank you for listening. As always, if you want to hear us on Patreon, we do produce an extra mini show there each week. That is patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can find us there. You can always find us for free on Twitter at burnbarrelpod, facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast. At burnbarrelpodcast.com, you can leave us those voice messages. Justin, come back. We do love you. Seriously, we love your characters. You can also at burnbarrelpodcast.com find all the places to listen.
Mother Road.